Hello, welcome to another live Google Hangout on the Living Income Guaranteed. And today we are going to be discussing about the basic income movement in Norway, which we have titled Citizen Pay, the road ahead for the Norwegian welfare state. And many of us have pondered, well, why would a place like Norway, which is considered one of the richest countries in the world, be considering the implementation of a basic income? What are the reasons behind it? What else would we have to understand to realize the necessity for it? So to understand more about this, we got with us Anja Askeland. So hello, Anja, welcome to the Hangout.
Thank you. Thank you for being up.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And to all of our viewers, she's of course coming from the BIEN Norway organization. And I'd like to remind everyone watching that there's going to be questions and comments that you can place throughout the Hangout. You have to be logged into your Google Plus account to do so. This is on your computer. Unfortunately, through mobiles, we still don't have that option, but don't worry, because this will be also a YouTube video where you can also place questions, comments, and at the same time we will let Anja know about it. So to get into the context of this discussion, Anja, I would like us to first know more about you. Can you give a little bit of a presentation, please?
Yes, my background, how I get to know about basic income was through the Green Party. I was involved with the Green Party till 2012. But before that, I've been very interested in economics and freedom and this possibility of the idea that we should not be slaves of the monetary system. Money should be our kind of tool. So that was my kind of start with this basic income idea, because basic income is the individual kind of meeting the economy in basic income, and you're kind of free. Yeah, that was very appealing to me.
And currently you are having a position within the international network. Can you tell us about it?
Yes. In the Green Party, I wanted in the last election campaign, national election campaign, I wanted them to promote the basic income idea, but they didn't want to do that because this idea was not mature enough in the population, they said. So they didn't dare to say that. So we decided, me and a group of others decided to start an organization only to promote the basic income. And that was in 2012. And since then, we've been very active and in touch with the UBIE, the Basic Income Network in Europe. And also in BIEN, we applied to be affiliate in BIEN last summer in Montreal. And at the same time, I was elected the secretary for international BIEN. So I'm a secretary there. Yes.
Great. So you've been very active, I would say. I would also like to know and give a context to this movement, emerging movement in Norway you were explaining. So can you share a little bit about this movement in itself? Where is it, and how are you managing it in terms of the current practices within it? What you've done in Norway? So can you share us about that?
Very active from start, and we had me and a few others. It's not a big movement. We were aboard in Oslo. I have just moved to the west coast Norway, and here I'm pretty much alone in the moment. Yes, it's but we have been very active on the social medias, and we have a group with more than 2,000 interested people in the subject. And I've published this book, or a little pamphlet actually, together with a renowned author called Vargas. And yes, so there is people who is interested in supporting this idea around, but I will not say we have a movement yet, you know. Yeah.
So it is a group of people that is joining together with the idea that probably has been captured from the ongoing momentum, as we were discussing, that has been raised mostly throughout this year, I would say. Can you show a little bit better the book, the pamphlet that you wrote, co-authored? Okay.
Yeah, it's called the. Yes, it's almost the same translated as the title of this event.
Exactly. So that's why we titled Citizens Pay, because that's like the translation of basic income. Is that correct?
Yes, that's citizen
Okay.
wage. Yes.
So let's get into the context and the kind of the question that many people, as myself, have had. So Norway is considered a rich country, and many people might say, well, isn't basic income a measure that is only applicable or only goes along with countries that experience high poverty measures? And why would Norway need it?
Why would we need it? Maybe should I go into the history a bit? We used to be a very poor country, and then we had this industrial revolution where, we have a lot of waterfalls and energy, and we have a lot of industry coming up. And then we have Second World War, and we have a growing labor movement, and unions are struggling for power. So after the Second World War, we have had a labor government together with the union governing Norway all the time up to the 80s, actually, with only small episodes of the right-wing people, right-wing governments. And at that time, we have the welfare state was steadily built, you know, and we had housing for everyone. We had, in 1969, we have this pension law, you know, where all pensioners, old age pension for everyone, and that is kind of a universal solution. And we had, even before, we had child benefits, and that continues. And we have, we got free healthcare for everyone, free schooling for everyone, and a very equal society. And we don't have a tradition of rich people. You know, it has been a poor country with the mountains and valleys and, you know, small farmers. So we are used to the equality idea. And yeah, and the democracy was also, we were early with our constitution. In 1905, we separated from the union is called that, but Sweden, and we elected our king at that time. We had an election, and he was chosen to be our king. So that is showing a bit about the democracy, how important the democracy is. And also, we have general voting right for women in 1913. So we had a very good base, you know. But and you can say when I grew up in the 70s, I was a child, and I was not aware that people could be poor. You know, we were equal. We were, well, of course, there were poor people also at that time, but it was, I think it was almost a peak of the social democracy in Norway at the time. And yeah, and even politicians were talking about the basic income. The Labour Party was lifting it, have it in their programs. They were never raising their voice about it. They did not talk about it to the public because the people were not mature or ready for it. And we have this pietistic Christian morale that, you know, that would not, you have to work to get the money, you know. That is very hard in our reflexes, and that is still our challenge to a great degree. In the 1980s, there was this switch, the globally with Reagan and Thatcher, and this is also came to Norway, but slowly in the start, and in the 90s, the child benefit was not in 1996. They stopped, adjusted it to the price increase, So it is actually the same today as it was in 1996, even if the prices have increased a lot since then. We financed our wealth by taking loans, and after year 2000, this increased also. The welfare state had this big reform in 2006. Before that, also the Liberal Party talked about the basic income, because they have to do something with our welfare benefits and pensions and all. So, but yeah, the sad thing was that the Labour Party decided to offer a hard work for a line, and yes, so we have to. So the benefits, it's like the rest of the Western countries. The benefits has to be kept low to motivate people to work, and this has getting worse since then. Now, this year, we have right-wing government now, and they decided that you have to work, to get the lowest social benefit, and we also don't have a guaranteed benefit for the people who has not earned up rights in the labor market. So it was a turn in the 80s, slowly going up to 2006, and then we have this big reform. Yeah. But this reform has shown big cracks lately. It's huge. It's cost a lot of people, a lot of money to run, and they have consultants coming in, this and that. They have a lot of computer systems not working together, and you have a lot of different rules and rights. And when the people coming into the different offices in all the communes in the countries, they have problems to get paid what their rights are, because the workers, the people who are sitting there, they have two things to take care of. They are supposed to give them the help, and at the same time not give them more than the minimum, And the individual coming has to actually know their own rights to be able to get it out. So the weakest people doesn't get what their rights are. So the system is crumbling. A lot of people are falling in between. Yes.
So in terms of poverty, can we talk about poverty in itself in Norway, or is it mostly like this deficiency in the welfare system in itself?
It's poverty in Norway. It's people who struggle in Norway. There's coming out of Facebook pages lately to help poor people in Norway too. But it's not in that sense that people are starving. It's more like they are not able to pay their rent. They are not able to. Well, in some cases, they struggle to have not enough money to feed themselves also. But you can say maybe 10-15% in the Norway struggle below the poverty rate. But that's also a discussion. What is the poverty rate? They had this EU norm, which is 60% of median income, and the Labour government actually just changed the definition to the OECD definition, which is 50%, and then they kind of get rid of a lot of poverty that way.
That's very common as well in many ways to simply define the poverty line as very low, so that you apparently have a very small percentage of poverty. But I mean, this is where you being there also matters in terms of seeing how people are actually struggling, and for us, like standing outside of the country, to get the actual idea that Norway isn't the utopia that is promoted, and that there is a struggle as well there. So thank you very much also for that historical background to understand a little bit further. So talking about the current situation, what are the current changes in the Norwegian economy that, from your perspective, are pointing out the need for the provision of a basic income?
Yes, lately we have a very oil-dependent economy, and lately the oil prices have fallen steeply, and there is need for a transition to green jobs, and we see now quite a lot of people have their jobs, and a lot of more people will lose their jobs. In addition, we have this automation or robotification of the work, and so it's estimated that between 40 and 50% of existing jobs may be replaced, by automatization in the next 20 years. So we have to find solution on this, because our welfare state is financed on a big degree on income attached from labor income, work income, and yes, with less people working, it will be less income, and with less oil revenues, we will struggle to keep up our economy. So this is something is created in society, and there's also a need for less consumption. We are, in average, we are consuming more than, if everyone in the world should do as the same as us, we are consuming resources for 3.5 planets. So we need to reduce our average in consumption.
That is great that you mention it, because coming from the perspective of having a wealthy country, we know that, of course, more money means more consumption and probably a little bit more disregard, which is something that I would also like to ask you. Some people have said being born in Norway, it's like winning the lottery. You get everything and you kind of take things for granted. Can you share a little bit about this mentality of the Norwegian?
That we take things for granted?
Yes, that you're born with this welfare society, that you have a very good living standard. So can you share a bit about that, just to get a bit more of the perspective on how a Norwegian lives?
Well, we are aware that we are very lucky. That was a difficult question. How we live materialistic? You think of how much we consume? Or how? Well, I myself not among the rich ones, but people have big houses, maybe cabin on the mountain and at the seaside, and it has become the norm to have exotic travels and nice clothes, and actually it's a big pressure on this being successful, and you have to be successful socially, in school, in jobs, and have a perfect life outside, and you have to be fit, and so this is it's a big high expectations also on consumption, but some people are getting tired, and they see the madness in this, and we need to reduce.
Yeah, the reason why I ask this is precisely because we've seen that with countries like China, we have discussed also the Chinese problem right now. Their growing rate is simply unsustainable, how it affects the mentality of the people, children in Asian countries staying for longer hours in school. So keeping up this mentality of having to be at the top of the world ends up also having like a backlash to it. So yes, from how I see it is that providing this guaranteed income, basic income, citizens pay, would kind of enable people to take a breath and kind of rethink the way that they're living right now. What would you say?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because when I was talking about in the 70s, when I grew up, there was the norm that actually the mother, but when the family was at home. But now you need to have both man and wife, and both parents working to pay the housing costs, the costs of living. That is the norm, and they put the child in the kindergarten at 1 year old. That is the norm. In the streets, there's no children. You know, everyone is organized in a kindergarten and throughout schooling. You know, so basic income would give us this pressure, the time back. You know, and maybe we can start reconnecting as family and friends and be out. You know, and see each other again. That is a lot of stress in the society, and we have a lot of psychiatric illness. That is a huge problem among youngsters, youth. They are dropping out from school because they have to be so good. You know, it's so hard competing, and they are graded, and yes, it's very hard now. And they probably know that they will not, this will not be able to continue on and on this growth of wealth. Maybe they were worrying for the future, you know, the climate, you know, I don't know. That was just my thoughts. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this is very pertinent, and I think also very valuable to place into context. For example, myself living in Mexico, we tend to see the Nordic countries as the example. But once that you get to, for example, learn from people like you, we kind of get the perspective that we don't take into consideration such stress, for example, and how there's this peer pressure, and that they, even if they have money, there's still not that enjoyment of living, because there's still this need to be at a certain level to be you know, number one at a worldwide level, and these kind of things that eventually affect the way that we live, how we value life, as you were mentioning, kind of getting lost in the values of wealth and money only, and losing touch with our humanity. So I very much agree on that. So in terms of the welfare system, do you have any idea of how the provision of these citizens' pay would change it at the moment? Would it benefit it? How will it affect it?
It will simplify it, and it will make it just, you know, because everyone knows what, you know, everyone gets the same, you know. No, there's a lot of suspicions with the ones who know all the laws. They maybe get more than others, and you have a lot of, especially right-wing politics, saying that we are parasites, and our people are, you know, swindling. Is that the word? Swindling the welfare state. You know, there's a lot of suspicion, and there's a lot of stigma to go and ask for this help when you needed it. You know, actually, there's a lot of people who do anything to avoid it. I know. Yeah. There's because it's so much stigma, and you feel very humiliated going in there, especially. But maybe I should mention, we have had a strong labor party, and in this welfare system we have sick leave, good sick leave, and good unemployment benefits still. So as long as you have rights in the labor market, you are kind of getting a dignified treatment when you're coming into the system. But if you don't have that, then that's when the humiliation starts, and also if you get illnesses, and you know. But even the benefits for working related benefits are also decreasing now. It's you're getting it in lesser periods of time, and yeah. But that has been kept up till now, actually. Yeah. So
okay, so in general, it would simplify it, and at the same time, we know it would eradicate all of that bureaucracy and the tediousness of having to be proving that whether you were looking for a job and so forth. Or, I mean, we're kind of coerced in such situation to be part of the labor market, for example. And if someone decides that they don't want to be part of it, then they're simply left out of any form of benefit, which in such case, that's where a citizen's pay or basic income would simply be the guaranteeing of their living right, isn't it?
yes. It is very, very much so. It's so separated. Actually, it's the state who is responsible for the work-related benefits and the age pensions and child benefits and also sick or handicap pensions. But when you have to go to, when you have no rights, that is all different 428 communes we have, small communes in the country. Each one are responsible to take care of their own commune, and they also have to decide themselves how much they give them after their evaluating their needs. But in practice, these communes, they are very poor. There is not much money given to the communes, and then they try to save money, and they try to pay as little as possible to not attract benefits, immigrants, you can say, from other communes. So it's going down, and it's very difficult to live on this, and it's very humiliating. Yeah, you have to.
There's the usual stigma, isn't it?
Yes, so it's actually quite ugly. And for this group of people, maybe in last year, I think there was 120,000 people going in. I have to ask about this in the whole country. About 50,000 maybe are living on this a long time, and yeah, they are definitely poor. You know, I will say they are. This is poor people, and it's very humiliating.
So in terms of the groups that are left out of this social security, we mentioned ones that are not part of the labor market in any way, not even in unemployment. Is there any others, people that have any disability maybe?
Yes, we have disability benefits that is almost about the same as a old age benefit, but you have to be after you have a 4-year process of finding how much you can work, or they will try to evaluate you and try to not give you this benefit, you know, because they don't. We have quite a few people who has got this benefits. So for these people, they are also struggling, and they are not. Yes, those people have to go and ask for this lowest social benefit as well. That is also not good. But groups, we have a lot of immigrants, which is on social security, and a lot of children. Maybe it's more than 100,000 children are living in these conditions, and it's a shame. Yes, because
absolutely. I would like to ask you about the quantity, the amount of, if there is such an idea of how much these citizens' pay would be.
Yes, I should have make it for you in dollars maybe. We talk about G. Well, I can, if you want me to. Is it okay in Norwegian krone? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
No.
I would like to also remind our viewers that are watching that there is questions and comments that you can place for Anja throughout the Hangout. We will be discussing for around some 10 minutes, a little bit more maybe. So please make sure that you place your questions there.
Okay.
We could.
I finally found the number here. It's from maybe $20,000 and up. I was thinking $25,000 a year. I would think for. But we have very high average income in Norway. It's about. For the households, it's about $56,000. That's the average income. So,
and of course, the living expenses there are quite high as well. So would you say that that quantity is sufficient and to guarantee that people have access to their living necessity?
No, maybe there should be additions in the cities for each housing, for, you know, because the basic income should be individually, but maybe there should be additions for household. Maybe that's just an idea, because the living costs are so high, and also the child benefit must also increase. Yes.
We have a question coming. Yeah, go ahead. We have a question coming, and this is from Liane Gale, and she's saying, you say that in 2012 the Green Party in Norway was not ready for promoting basic income. Has anything changed, especially considering that Finland and the Netherlands are planning basic income pilot programs? If not, how would basic income enter the political arena in Norway?
Yes, for the time being, next week we have local elections. And I was talking to all the parties about the basic income, like understands. There is more openness for this idea now, curiosity. I try to be in Norway, not to focus only on the Green Party anymore. I want to, because there is incentives for any party to go in for that. The right-wing parties can do something with the market flexibility. The labor market can get the solidarity idea to get everybody out of poverty. The Farmers Party the decentralization can come out. And the Liberal Party, the freedom and freedom from state power. So I try to go to everyone. The Green Party is now struggling to talk about the need of degrowth, and they still haven't started to talk about the basic income. But I'm not sure. You know, Labour Party, they talked about it in the 80s, but they have not talked about it since. But the Liberal Party talked about it in the beginning of the 2000s. They also had it in the program until 2013. Then they took it out to be in a coalition government together with the right-wing parties. And since then, they have not talked about it, but there is people inside, maybe, who's interested. That's all I can say now. And a small, very left-wing party, it's called Red. In one commune in South Norway, the mayor candidate is talking about the basic income. That is the only politician in Norway who's doing it. So that's interesting. We're very happy about that.
So, yeah, that was part of the questions, whether there was going to be any politician that was openly advocating it in Norway, as well as any political parties. So thanks for your question. And so I would like to ask you, you've been a basic income activist, and so if you would share what is the way that people can join the movement, because from also Liane's question, I get the idea that more people are required to be not only aware of basic income in general, but how to join together and make a presence, so to speak, make waves that could place basic income or citizens pay into people's radar, so to speak. So can you share a little bit about the activist side of it, what you've done and what you see does create a good effect for the purposes of promoting it?
Yes, the activist side of it. Well, I have had some lectures around in Oslo. I'm started there. And then next week I will have a lecture in Bergen. But it's hard to mobilize and get people to work actively on it. So most is happening on the internet, on the social medias, but I see people are gaining in awareness of basic income, and so since 2012, more people know what it is, and people I don't know even are promoting it in the social medias now. So that's great. we need to, get going our organization more now. Yes, the time is in for us now to work on this, but yes, the social media. But we should have stands. We should go out amongst people, talk about people more. We actually once tried. We have tried this Kroningswelle. You know, there's this movement in Germany. You know, they have this.
Right, the crowns.
So that was very nice. You know, children were coming and the parents were coming, and we had a nice, relaxed talk. And when you have a relaxed talk and people are able to ask the questions they wonder, they are not opposing it at all. So it's all a question about discussing it calmly and nicely, and because it's a question about awareness, I think, basic income.
Also, I would like to ask you, from precisely talking to people, meeting people, what is the most common fear that comes up in people? Is it further taxes? Is it the fact that people could get money without work? What would you say on that aspect?
Both of them. How do we finance it? One, and would people work? And yes, but a lot of questionnaires shows that that when you're asked if you would work, most people say they will work, but they don't think the other people will work. So there's a kind of a distrust here. Yeah.
It's fascinating because that's also what we've been getting from everyone discussing about basic income, how we tend to see at others as the lazy ones that won't do anything, but I would work. So yeah. I guess that there's like this psychological aspect that we rather kind of understand instead, that of course you live in a society and the best way to feel good about yourself is also contributing back, and what a better way if it's not dependent on you getting money to survive, but that it is actually something that you choose to do. I mean, that really changes the mentality of work. And according to that, what's your perspective on the definition of work and working for money, and how this would change someone's mentality in Norway in relation to work, of course?
Yes. That in this pamphlet, this is we have a separate chapter about separating work and income, because that is not the same, and because work is what we do for the society, you know, what we do for the others, and income, well, salary is kind of income what you need to survive, so we should separate them. Work is and we should also, a lot of work is not good for either society or yourself. So we should actually be able to take power back. It is a part of democratize the society again. That we, each and one of us, is able to decide whether this is a good thing for society or not. We should start trusting each other a bit more. Yes.
Actually, it also relates to the comment that we got from Mats Bjornsti, and he's saying that just shows that money is their only motivation to work. So that's how we've been conditioned, and how much can we expect of us when we are kind of subjugated to that aspect? How much will it change if money is no longer that reason? And I guess that basic income, citizens pay is the best way to give us that opportunity to see it firsthand for the very first time as an unconditional move, a guaranteed human right, as we say. We got a last few minutes, so I would like you to share where can people contact you. We will place the links, but in terms of, you say that the social movement is also one that is most popular at the moment, so can you share a bit about that?
Yes, well, we have a liking page. It's called Borgerlønn BIEN Norge. I don't know, have you shown that? And unfortunately our webpage is down, but it was, yes, so I cannot say anything about that. We will have it up as soon as possible, and we will tell about that on our liking page. And if you want to contact me, I have also given my email address, and also the organization. an email address. So please just ask me anything. Yeah.
Great. I guess that more people, maybe now that they're witnessing what could potentially come as problems with Statoil and the loss of this great foundation for the Norwegian economy. I mean, people are losing their jobs. So here is a suggestion for these people to, instead of just having to move abroad, maybe to get better wages and so forth, rather join this movement and get at least a dignified living without having to rely on what an industry that also has to be renewed. You also were talking about the green jobs, and if we want to move out of the paradigm of the oil industry, then we also have to renew the way that the transition phase from oil-driven economies to something better will also require a basic income, so that in the meantime people are stable and guaranteed their living rights, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. There's a lot of clever, intelligent people, engineers ready to start and try out their own ideas. So with a basic income, combined, with maybe the political choice of making hubs or meeting places for people to join and getting together, because the same engineer maybe has not the competence to sell out this idea or share the idea. So they need to get together in groups, and we have, and we have to decommodify our social relations. Like, we have to create meeting places. We have to develop our culture. We have to get into the arts more, and people are just, big artists, and I'll be sitting on working on something totally useless now, in a shop that is not needed or something, So people should get free, and we should get together and be able to try out our passions and, develop as a culture. We have reached a material peak, so we need to develop our culture, and I think we all will be more happy. Yes.
I absolutely agree on having reached that material peak. There's only so much you can get. And I guess that in a country like yours, it's like, okay, why are still people dissatisfied? There's something wrong with this. And now I understand a little bit further on that. And it is true. It is about letting the living right be disconnected from the necessity to have money to live. And so a new humanity will emerge, from my perspective as well. So thanks a lot, Anja, for this discussion and for letting us know a little bit more about Norway and stop seeing it as this utopian in the north side of the world. We have a comment from Mats. He says, I agree. Cool, Anja. So I agree.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Yeah.
Thank you for being here and for giving us your time. And thank you, the viewers, as well, for watching. We will be back next week with another Hangout. If you have further questions, comments, and you're watching in the YouTube video, please place them and we will let Anja know. So see you next time. Bye, Anja.
Bye.